Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome once again to NoDQ&A video. This is episode number 330. And yes, this is the 6th episode of NoDQ&A video in a 7-day period. It's been a crazy week, very busy in the world of wrestling, a lot going on. Got a lot of questions here from the people on formspring.me/Aaron Rift. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get right down to it. First one today comes from Deval David 9. What are your thoughts on TNA Destination X? Do you believe in Chris Sabin being a credible champion? I just think he needs a good feud to put him over. I thought that Destination X was a really good free TV show. Definitely pay-per-view quality matches. You had some really good triple threat matches with a lot of the old TNA stars, guys like P.D. Williams, Sanjay Dutt. They were all really good. And you had the big world title match with the title change. Chris Sabin defeating Bully Ray to become the world heavyweight champion. Chris Sabin, one of those guys that people thought would never be a world champion, but he has done it. Somebody else asked me here, actually, BCrew16. Hey, Aaron, do you see Chris Sabin as a viable world champion? And did you get a Shawn Michaels WrestleMania 12 feel watching the promos leading to the match? I have to say that TNA did a really good job building up Chris Sabin with the video packages. I really liked the opening to the show. I thought that was very well done. And, I thought it was tremendous to have him win the title. And I would have had the ending last a little bit longer, the celebration. It seemed like the show just kind of abruptly ended. I would have given them a few more minutes to where Sabin could have celebrated with the fans or whatever, maybe had some fireworks, pyro go off. But, that's just nitpicking. I'm very happy for Chris Sabin. Chris Sabin is one of those guys that helped build TNA. He was there since almost the very beginning. And he was one of those guys, the TNA originals, that busted his ass night in and night out. And I used to watch him at PWG. He's a guy that started at the very bottom and slowly worked his way up. And, he was very cool to everybody in the NoDQ.com crew. When we interviewed him in 2005, he was, he did a great interview for us. And, it's just unfortunate what happened to him a couple years ago with the ACL injuries and, twice on one leg and then the other leg. And he was out, 2 years. And, he had a great tag team with Alex Shelley. So, Chris Sabin had a lot of memorable moments in TNA, the Ultimate X matches, and he was a big part of the X division. So I'm glad that he finally got the opportunity to win the world title. And you really have to do something. I know there's been some criticism about ending Bully Ray's title reign on free television and not waiting until Bound for Glory. But the fact is TNA is having some problems right now. It's no secret. If you've been following NoDQ.com, you know that there's some turmoil in TNA and there's some concern about the future of the company. And, the ratings for Impact have been way down. And I think that they needed to do something like this to try to generate some buzz. And, I don't know if Chris Sabin is that guy. I don't know if he's going to have any appeal beyond the core fan base, the hardcore TNA fans and wrestling fans in general. I just don't know if he's going to have that appeal or not. But, you really have to try something. You're not going to know if something works until you try it. And Chris Sabin's a guy that the fans have a lot of respect for, and we'll see what happens. But, I think it was a good move to have him win the title and have that feel-good moment for people and have that comeback story, full swing where he makes his big return and wins the world title. And speaking of the turmoil in TNA right now, that leads up to this next question from Jeremiah Dorset. Hey, Aaron, I just saw new TNA championship belts leaked out. Is this a sign of things to come for TNA? And is TNA cutting back on money after releasing some talent this year? Please answer in video for episode number 330. TNA has released several people, both wrestlers and people in the front office. Bruce Pritchard has gone from TNA. D'Lo Brown has gone from TNA. Doc is gone. Tara's gone. Matt Morgan was released or his contract expired. TNA is definitely cutting costs at this point. And one of the main questions that I've been getting from people is TNA in trouble? Is TNA close to going out of business? Here's my take on it. as long as TNA has Spike TV, I think they will be able to stay in business as long as they make the appropriate cuts. Spike TV is crucial to TNA's survival. If Spike TV cancels Impact Wrestling, they're pretty much done for. So I mean, as long as they cut costs, I think that they will be able to stay in business. The big question is, why don't they cut the guys like Hulk Hogan that are being paid all that money? That is Dixie Carter's decision, and her family has all that money. They're shelling out the money. If they want to keep Hulk Hogan, that's their business. They're going to do what they're going to do. One problem with TNA right now is, going live. Everybody knows it's been a good idea on paper, but it's very expensive to run live every week or every other week, and they haven't been drawing the crowds. I mean, they've been drawing 2,000-3,000 people, and they've been having to give away a lot of free tickets, and they've had to put everybody on one side of the building to try to make it look decent on TV, which for the most part they've done a good job of that. An issue here is they can't just go back to the Impact Zone. I mean, Universal is using that soundstage for other things now. And if they were to go back to working in a soundstage every week, I mean, they're most likely going to have to go somewhere else. So, I mean, that's definitely an issue. They're kind of stuck now doing the twice-a-month TV schedule in different arenas across the country. So, I mean, they got to do it. They got to do what they got to do to stay in business. And if that means cutting some talent, so be it. But at least for now, I think TNA will be okay. Like I said earlier, it's a matter of Spike TV. I think that would be the death blow to TNA if Spike TV was to cancel them. But like I said earlier with Chris Sabin, you really got to do something to try to boost up the ratings, and you got to take chances. So, I think it was a wise move to put the title on Chris Sabin. All right, and another question here is, anyone safe from TNA's gut-slicing talent cuts? Hogan, Bischoff, Dixie, they all could go. Well, Dixie's not going anywhere because her family, they're the ones that are shelling out all the money for TNA. Hogan and Bischoff, Hogan should have been gone years ago. I mean, my opinion on it, I grew up the biggest Hulkamaniac of anybody. I mean, I had the Hulk Hogan wrestling buddies, I had the t-shirts, I had everything. But in the summer of 2010, Hogan should have been gone. When the attempt to go on Monday nights didn't work out, Hogan and Bischoff should have been sent packing. I mean, when you can't get the job done, you get somebody else to do it. And Hogan and Bischoff, Hogan has helped TNA to some degree. When he first came in, he boosted the ratings, at least in the short term. And, Hogan has that star presence, and, that definitely helps to some degree. But the problem is that he's the focal point of the show every week. And that's not going to work out. Things with Chris Sabin aren't going to work out if Hulk Hogan continues to be the center of attention every week. I don't know if it'll get to the point where Hogan and Bischoff are let go. But, I mean, if things don't get better financially for TNA, I mean, we could see some fireworks. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens with that. And this next question comes from Zanky. Hi, Aaron. Although Y2J was a big star already, he cemented his legacy when he beat Stone Cold and The Rock in one night, and a decade later, it's still proof of his overness. Why wouldn't Bryan cement his by beating Cena and Orton in the same night? Okay, I've got actually a lot of people asking me about this. The difference is that when Jericho beat Austin and The Rock in the same night, he was a heel, and he won both matches with outside interference. I would be very surprised if Vince McMahon would allow Daniel Bryan, of all people, to beat his two of the three top stars in the company in the same night. I don't know if Vince is all that behind Daniel Bryan. And, they're starting to, take something that a real life issue where Vince doesn't really see Daniel Bryan as a main eventer, and they're starting to implement that into the storylines now. On Raw last week, you had Triple H saying Vince isn't going to be happy about who Cena picks, and they already knew that it was going to be Bryan. So they're playing up on that. I would just, I mean, it could happen. you never know, and it's never say never. Anything can happen in WWE, whatever. But I just don't see it happening. What I think is possible is that maybe at SummerSlam, Bryan, if Bryan beats Cena, I mean, that right there is a huge accomplishment. If Bryan beats Cena, I could see maybe Orton coming out and attempting to cash it in, and then Cena stops it because he wants Bryan to have his big moment and not get cheated out of his victory. So I could see something like that where Cena prevents Orton from cashing it in after the match. But yeah, I would. That would definitely be a shocker if Bryan beat both guys in one night. And I certainly agree with it. Would do a lot for his career. It would be epic, and it would make him the guy, I think, and give him a tremendous amount of credibility if he was able to beat both guys. But don't think it's going to happen. All right, this one comes from DeathWish21. Hey Aaron, I'm a huge Rey Mysterio fan, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on Rey's push in 2006, including the Royal Rumble and the Triple Threat World Title match at WrestleMania 22. Please answer in your next YouTube video. I think I've talked about this before, but I'll mention it again. I was not a huge fan of that Rey Mysterio push. My first issue is Rey Mysterio is a tremendous in-ring performer. He's very entertaining, but the fact is, it's hard to buy into him as a main eventer. He's not a heavyweight. And when you have somebody like Rey Mysterio beating up a guy like Kane, it's really hard to take that seriously. So that's the first issue. And, I'm okay with him getting the win and being the underdog who overcomes the odds, whatever. You can tell that story. But the whole Eddie Guerrero aspect to it, didn't care for at all. The fans were chanting for Eddie during his matches, and he was just doing Eddie's moves, and he became basically an Eddie Guerrero clone. And I didn't like that. I didn't like the fact that they were that they were exploiting Eddie Guerrero's death with the Rey Mysterio push. Rey Mysterio should have won the title because he's such a great performer and he deserves it, not because Eddie Guerrero died. So I didn't like the circumstances, and the way WWE booked him after that was awful. He lost pretty much every match as the world champion. It was so stupid, and what was the point? Like I said, I was fine with him winning the Rumble. The Triple Threat match was pretty good, but I just didn't like the whole Eddie Guerrero aspect, and that was my biggest issue with it. All right, this one comes from Vinny84. Hey Aaron, only just been able to work out how to ask a question. Do you think at some point the Wyatt family are going to deliver justice to the Shield? Seems obvious to me, 3-on-3. Hope you're answering video. Thanks, great show. A lot of people have asked me about a possible Wyatt family versus Shield 3-on-3. Right now, both groups are heels, so I don't see it happening in the immediate future. And I don't know how much longer the Shield's going to be a faction. They've been together for almost a year now, and I could see them splitting up pretty soon. Maybe they'll do a 6-man match and the Shield will lose to them, and that'll be the start of their breakup. That might be a good way to end the Shield, is to have them put over the Wyatt family and give them the rub. So it's a possibility, but I've heard that they might turn the Wyatt family at some point and make them baby faces. So I don't know if it's really a good idea to do heels versus heels in that situation, but I could definitely see that match happening at some point, but definitely not a guarantee. All right, that'll do it for this edition of NoDQ&A video, the 6th NoDQ&A video in a 7-day period. So if you haven't checked out the other videos, make sure you watch them all. Lots of stuff has been going on this past week between Money in the Bank and Raw, and now Impact. Definitely one of the busiest weeks of the past several months in the world of wrestling. So stay tuned to NoDQ.com for all the very latest. We got SummerSlam coming up, and you can friend me on Facebook, facebook.com/Aaron Rift. If you're going to be at SummerSlam or you're going to be in the LA area, you come meet up with us after the show. We're having a get-together. Just contact me on Facebook for that. And I'll see you guys next time for more NoDQ&A video.